spirit of the Starship Nighthawk, we're gonna play the Starship Nighthawk song.
Hello and welcome to the Lingua Musica show, where music is the universal language. I'm your host, Joe Kendrick, here at Moonlight Mile Studio in the heart of the Southern Appalachians near Asheville, North Carolina. We're in front of a live studio audience, and tonight we hop in the Starship Nighthawk to take a trip through time and space with Hank West and the Smokin' Hots. We're here with Henry, Andrew, and Leo. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So take us through the sort of the basics, the Hank West and the Smokin' Hots 101. For everybody that doesn't know you, tell us about yourself, where you come from.
101, all right. So that's like the first course. Okay, we're a band sent back in time from 2470 to promote a product made by a company called Bear.
Bear.
Let's see, second course. Okay, this is 201. We all, I guess we play jazz music. We all have a firm roots in jazz, but this is kind of a branch away from that, using the same concepts, like the tradition of improvisation and riff-based melodies, stuff like that, like danceable tempos. So this is our branch away from jazz.
Well, we're going to be enjoying some of that here later on with your performance. And we've enjoyed the first EP that you put out last year. I understand you're working on a new record right now.
Yeah, we just spent our first day in the studio. Was that Tuesday, right? No, it was
Wednesday. Yeah,
Wednesday. So we started 3 tracks, and really excited about how those are turning out. And it's related, but different than our first EP. And I'm pretty happy about the direction we're going in. It seems like we're maturing well. I mean, professionally. Professionally anyway. I don't mean personally. Yeah, personally.
Well, tell us about some of the instruments and some of the toys we've got up here. We've got some relics of the past. I mean, you guys are from the year 2470, is that right? You're traveling back to sort of scope out the musical scene and the culture of the present, is that right?
We are, and we're happy to be amongst all you relics and all the relics of the past. This is just like a little homage. I found this in my car. I think my granddaddy made it.
The future is such an efficient place that we only have sporks. So that's very novel.
And they're actually this small. It's hard to explain. A lot of things in the future are very hard to explain.
And you can use 2 of them as chopsticks.
Yeah.
Very efficient.
Yeah, it's very true. It's a very, in case you were wondering, there's a big Asian influence in the future.
Yeah, well, I could gather that from the sort of the look of the first EP with the sort of the graphics and whatnot.
Oh yeah, got some kanji on there.
And and for our very close listeners, you'll hear it in lyrics and melodies and things like that as it weaves in and out of what we do.
So you must be fascinated with figures in our era like Sun Ra, maybe Martin Denny. Seems that your music kind of strikes in there somewhere. There's a lot of the exotic element and fantasy and mythology.
Yeah, Sun Ra is awesome. Space is the place, Love listening to his stuff and how far he could go out and still bring it home.
Yeah.
I would say Frank Zappa, huge influence.
Yeah,
for sure. And you talk about Martin Denny too. I'm glad you brought him up. He's one of the big conduits of the exotica music in America, and I really think he delivered it to the mass, to the populace that way. Where it had been, exotica is a big blanket term, but it had been kind of just in little pockets of people that like traditional Japanese music, or this is Polynesian music, or this is like drum music from West Africa. And he kind of said, let's just take all this and expose people to it, call it exotica. And I think that's like a bigger point, brings me to a bigger point, which is Sun Ra and Frank Zappa all speak this language of, it's like now my tongue is all tied. It's like, it's hard to describe. I guess it's the language of the spirit, It's something that you're so definitive in your source. You say, this is the type of music I'm making, that other people are like, oh, of course it is, that's what that is. When really, that's a whole fictitious concept of a genre of music. It really doesn't exist.
So much of it's in the mind of the listener.
Yeah.
Yeah, to define where we're at. It's hard for us to put words to it, trying to encapsulate this time and place into musical terms that we can relate to you with.
Yeah, our first language is on these things. English is second language usually.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're in the local section of the record store, and as we get more record stores, I'm not really sure what section we'll be in. That's to be determined.
We will be in a future section.
Yeah, of course. Certain bands are sort of it's a one band genre, of certain stuff, and I think that's a neat goal. Maybe it'll go there.
I think one of the things that jumps out about you at first, obviously, a jazz element and some of the swing and hot jazz kind of flavors, but there's a lot more going on because there's a kind of a Latin feel to some of it. There's almost a kind of a surf vibe to a lot of it too. You've got more things going on than just, like you say, any one genre.
Well, it keeps us interested.
Well, and that's kind of what jazz is. It's always been this bringing of musical styles together to have a new product, a new sound.
Yeah, the interesting thing about jazz is like as soon as it would change, it would solidify at that point and then change again. And I think that now jazz is kind of in like this long, like in what's considered current in jazz, is sort of confusing for someone who doesn't know the whole history of jazz. And it makes it difficult to just jump in and access what's going on with jazz right now. And so, but the elements that the ingredients in jazz are still very vital and really useful. So we try to just take the ingredients, kind of throw out some of the history and the weight of the tradition of jazz, and go back to a lighter, more fun and accessible sound using the original ingredients.
And sprinkle a little J-pop in there.
Yeah,
too,
sprinkle some J-pop on top.
Tokyo J-pop,
it's like curry.
Style, Get that in there. For those of y'all who don't know what that is, then please utilize your Googles.
Back to the matter at hand with your show tonight. Tell us about what we can expect. I mean, okay, you got your trumpet, you got stand-up bass, you got the keys, and you've got some other kind of cool toys. I like this little instrument over here. What is that?
Oh, you're talking about this? This is an all y'all, and it's I may or may not play this tonight. I don't really know, but this is a traditional Chinese instrument, and I kind of changed some of the specs about it, made it like 7-sided, and that's why I call it an all y'all. It's an Appalachian name, but traditionally it'd be called an erhu, and that's spelled E-R-H-U. Once again, Googles. Would you like to play it?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure I'll be really
Make
good
sure
at
you
this.
got enough cable here. Oh, it's got a bow if you like.
Strings, yes.
There you go.
All right, cool. So we shall try.
Do you know how to use a bow? Oh yeah.
So you.
Yeah, you can. You actually clench it between your knees. There you go. That gives you a little ballast there.
Now, do you play it up here too?
That's it. And the play gives you a little vibrato. Oh, we got a natural. Beautiful. Smoke me on. This is Joe.
All right, thank you. Well, that's fun. Where do we go from here? What else is coming up in the near future for Hank Weston and Smokin' Hots? I know you've got a lot of other projects that you work with. Firecracker Jazz Band, Squirrel Nut Zippers, got Pokey Lafarge going on. Tell us about all that stuff.
Go for it.
Well, I can't speak on Pokey Lafarge, but I know he's an amazing musician. As for Firecracker Jazz Band, that's seems to be a commonality. Leo didn't play in Firecracker Jazz Band, although plays gypsy jazz guitar, and
he played in Big Nasty. Big Nasty Jazz Band.
That's right. Yeah, Big Nasty, and as a soloist primarily. That's how we all met. We all played that same kind of Same kind of style of 1920s, 30s. When you say 30s,
20s, 30s.
jazz music.
Yeah.
I play with the Squirrel Nut Zippers, although there's everyone in that band has got so many other projects like myself that we don't tour very much anymore. Of course, I joined in 2000 and was it
8?
Yes,
Is that right?
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and so I'm the new member out, but they toured a lot more when I first started, and now it's just like South America, and I think just tours to sip rum out of coconuts, which is fine. It's great.
So what was the catalyst for you playing jazz? What was it? Was it early on in childhood, or what brought you to it?
I think it's the most fun to play. It's the most interactive. You get to improvise and you get to musically communicate with people in real time. And I think that's the magic.
I think I got to second that. That's definitely my reason too. What do you think, man?
Well, I got into it because basically a friend of mine got me into it. Reese Gray, the original piano player for Firecracker Jazz Band, former member of Squirrel Nut Zippers, he moved to the town I was from, and I met him, and I was playing a little piano, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, what he can do, and I thought what I could do was kind of cool, and I was like, twinkle, twinkle, and
Little star.
and I saw him come in and make matchsticks out of a piano, and I was like, oh, you can do that, okay. I totally rethought of what I could do, and he got me listening to records on 78s, on a Victrola, and I got a kind of a cool education in jazz from an expert with the original records. He'd be like, hey, here's a Hot 5, Louis Armstrong Hot 5 record, let's listen to that. And then I kind of fell in love with it and kept on going and going, and when he moved out of town, Firecracker needed a piano player, and they tapped me.
Cool.
And so yeah, I came by it honest.
And the rest is history.
Well, not yet.
There's a budding jazz scene here around Asheville.
Carolina Jazz. There's a name for it, yeah.
Carolina just has got its own style.
that the
It
name?
does. Carolina Jazz.
Of course that's the name.
When was this on
It's
Google?
not Dakota Jazz.
This is all over. This is all over Google. This is-
Actually, in a couple weeks, I think it'll be on Google.
That's when it hits Google. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like it sounds kind of to the undiscerning ear. It sounds kind of like New Orleans jazz, but it obviously has a different beat. Definitely sounds different.
I know you got to drive a ways to find someone else playing. You find some young people playing jazz like we do. You got to. I mean, I know of a band in Atlanta that's doing it, and next stop is going to be, I don't know, New Orleans. Going north, there's guys doing it that I know of in D.C. and that way, but there's not that many stops on the jazz train between here and New Orleans as far as traditional jazz.
But then there's those interstellar kind of stopovers.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got all the negative space in between different timelines of parallel dimensions, and I mean it's a whole lot of people out there ultimately playing jazz. When you add them all up.
So it's like the bar scene or on Tatooine with the first Star Wars. You kind of run into those cats every once in a while.
Yeah. They're on the circuit.
The first ones, not the CGI ones, because they're obviously in a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very disappointing.
They're in a virtual world. Yeah.
So tell us about the Sun Ra cat, because I think he's, like we started off talking about him as being fairly central to what you're about. And Sun Ra, as we all know, is or was from outer space.
Oh, he still is.
From Saturn, I
He
believe.
still is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's not from Jupiter. Who said that? He's from Saturn. I'm from Jupiter.
Yeah, he is also, derived from the greater universe and not like a particular time or place. It's nice not to have such sure footing musically. It's nice to, he found freedom in it. We certainly do.
Yeah, he's an amazing figure, and musically, I think he might not get the due respect because of all of the regalia, because of the kind of the pomp or the all.
Yeah, he was sort of jazz David Bowie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, who else?
sure.
Who else would have been?
He's like in a glam jazz kind of way, far out
Glam jazz.
kind of way. Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
I like an interview that I saw of him when the interviewer asked, "So who are some of your main influences?" And he says, "Well, the earth and the water and the wind and the sun." I'm like, well, that's some pretty big influences. You can't deny those, though. Those are great.
I remember hearing this on record. This is WREK out of Atlanta, had a compilation of performances and interviews, or mostly performances, that they had in studio. This was in the 90s, I think. And they had Sun Ra in studio, and they did a long piece of the interview with him where he talked about going into the Great Pyramid. Which pyramid? One of the big ones.
The Great Pyramid.
The Great Pyramid.
It is a specific one.
And so they're going on the tour into the Great Pyramid, and pretty far deep into it, the power goes out and all the lights go off, and it's so dark you can't see the hand in front of your face. And so it's either him, or I have to go back and listen to it to remember exactly, but it's like it's either him or somebody in the group says, okay, well, we're going to say Ra 9 times. And so they all say Ra over 9 times over, and the lights come back on.
Whoa.
So it was just...
Wow, I guess Ra was the guy that's the Great Pyramid was built as his tombstone, is that right? Or is like his tomb or something?
You go back and you watch all those shows about
They never
really
found
going on.
any mummies in there, so they don't know.
There's all those theories about it
know
being
what's
more
wrong.
like a great machine of some kind.
Oh, they like pour liquid metal in one and then like creosote in the other or something, and then start some kind of...
Yeah.
I've heard these theories, and in the future we've sorted all that out. We figured out what it is, but we can't tell anybody, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who are some other figures that you enjoy or you look up to?
I'm a big Jelly Roll Morton fan.
Django Reinhardt, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I can
Love
hear
the
that.
gypsy jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Henry?
I really like David Bowie, David Byrne. I respect Kiri Pamu Pamu and Haryomi Hosono, one of the legend songwriters in Japan in the 70s.
Yeah, Michael Kaji.
Obviously. Michael Kaji.
Another Japanese influence.
I'm not all that up on the Japanese artists. I'll have to do some research myself. This sounds intriguing.
It's funny. The Pacific is kind of like a one-way valve sometimes. A lot of our pop music goes right over there and gets absorbed, but then what's pop doesn't necessarily, especially what's like the undercurrent, like what do you call that? Not B-sides, the
the underground stuff.
I only know the West Coast term, cuddy. That cuddy kind of music that goes on. That rarely makes it over here.
And then Nintendo music.
Yeah.
Early Nintendo music.
Yeah, we forgot.
It may be a bittersweet influence, but yeah,
It's definitely there.
our era has played so many hours of video games that the music, gets stuck in your head, like. Everybody knows that song.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, that's a whole style now, 8-bit, right?
Yeah.
What that was
It
referred
is.
to.
Yeah, it is turning into like a genre.
And there's a band, I think they might be from South Carolina, I could be wrong, but they do nothing but Nintendo songs.
The Proto Men.
Is
They
that
dress
it?
up as
They do the Mega Man. They
Mega
do like a lot of the
Man,
Mega
they
Man.
do
Oh,
music and stuff.
the Proto Men. They came to Asheville one time. Yeah, they do. They do like opera, like a Mega Man opera. I don't know if brilliant of y'all who have seen Mega Man or played Mega Man.
They're a fun show. I've seen them. They're a real fun show.
Yeah, I bet they would be.
They take it real far.
Cool. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well,
Thank you.
We're excited to have you.
Thanks for the great discussions.
All right, Andrew, Leo.
Yeah.
All right. You're watching the Lingua Musica show, where music is the universal language. I'm Joe Kendrick. Stick around. We'll be back.
Nice job, man. Cool. Sure.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Now the fun part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's play some music.
Thank you. Very cool.
10?
Yeah, that's fine.
10.
said, no, it cannot be done. You people are watching, but I don't care. I'm 21, wanna have my fun, my life's just begun. So wrap your chops, wrap your chops, wrap your chops around the single T. Roll this gauge and then get high with me. Zach nugs are my weakness, and I smoke them bad. Sets me straight so I can play it on Papa Man. Gotta roll it up and smoke it up and roll it to the cup. You gotta roll it up and smoke it up and roll it to the cup. You gotta roll it up and roll it up and roll it up and smoke it up and roll it up and smoke it up and roll it to the cup. You gotta bounce to the sugar, bounce to the sugar, baby, not a bounce to the sugar, baby, all night long. You don't have to if you want to. You don't have to if you want to. It's a fashionable ration and a rational fashion. It's a fashionable ration. Got to burn it out, burn it out, burn it out, burn it out, roll it up and 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 do it. Got to do it, work it, bounce, bounce, do it, work it, bounce, bounce, do it, do it. the cup, you gotta roll it up and smoke it up and roll it to the cup, you gotta bounce to the sugar, baby. I bounce to the sugar, baby, all night long. We do the praying minutes, do the praying minutes, do the praying minutes, do the praying minutes, do the praying minutes. Bite your partner's head off, bite your partner's head off, bite your partner's head off, bite your partner's head off. Do the caterpillar, do the caterpillar, do the caterpillar, do the caterpillar, do the caterpillar. Turn it to a butterfly, turn it to a butterfly, turn it to a butterfly. You gotta do it, work it, walk it out, walk it out. Do it, work it, walk it out, walk it out. Do it, work it, walk it out. Wind up, 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 break it, break it, break it, break it, break it, get the work it, wind up, wind up, wind up, wind up, wind up. I'm hyper mad, I must have my fun. I'm never sad, no it cannot be done. You people are watching, but I don't care. I'm 21, wanna have my fun, my life's just begun, my life's just begun. So wrap your chops around this a stick of tea. Blow this cage and then come on, get high with me. Zach Nugs all my weakness, I smoke in bed. It sets me straight so I can play it.
That's a traditional jazz number.
When was that song written?
That was written today.
Oh my. How did you know?
Anyone with the correct answer of when that song was originally written?
24/7. 24/69.